Hello, welcome to the Creatively Geeky Show. I'm your host for the evening, Eugene Stevens. Tonight, I'm joined by, I guess our normal cast now. Yeah, the cast. I've got Chris and Ray on. How are y'all doing? First off,
Good.
Yeah, we're all right.
Good.
Good
Warm.
deal. Yeah, yeah, a lot warmer than it is here in Texas right now.
Yeah.
So, as we record this, I live in Central Texas, and we are in the middle of a catastrophe. Basically, we have been in freezing temperatures for almost a week now. As such, it is frozen outside. We've gotten layers of snow and ice, and then snow on top of that, and then even more ice to the point that the roads are impassable. And as a result, our power grid is having issues. There are rolling blackouts. Luckily, my family in our house, we have not had power issues, but we're pretty sure that's because we're positioned roughly between two hospitals. So that's probably why we've been spared. But the entire state is having problems with power. The entire state is having problems with water. We have not managed to escape that. So we are on a boil notice like most of the rest of the state. The grocery stores are empty and there's no gas to be found. So good times.
Wow.
Yeah. It's
And it's a pandemic. Woo!
and it's a pandemic. That's absolutely right. So anyway, that being said, the reason I brought up the whole cast thing is a couple of our members, Jennifer and Sean, have actually kind of asked to kind of step away. Both of them I know have a lot of stuff going on right now, and neither of them have really felt that creative. So they don't really feel like they have anything to contribute to the show right now. As always, they'll always be welcome back.
Mm-hmm.
But that being, but that being said, even if they don't come back, we had a conversation. I contacted Ray and Chris. I was like, hey, so do we want to keep doing this? Do we want to look at something else? And we've thrown around some ideas, some really good ideas. And once again, maybe a few more changes with the show. We'll see. But that being said, we're going to continue on because I enjoy talking about what I've been working on with, my other creative friends. So that being said, let's go ahead and move on to what we've been, what we've been working on, what our updates are. So, Ray, you had play guitar from last month.
You did?
I did because I didn't think I was going to finish some of the paintings there. Did I finish the paintings? I think I had finished the paintings last time, didn't I?
No, you hadn't finished.
No, you were still working on them.
Okay, so the paintings are done instead.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well,
In fact, I think the last time we talked, you said you had gotten like the base color or something on.
Yeah. Okay. So the painting is done.
Cool.
And sealed. Whenever I do a watercolor, I seal it with a wax. It's a cold wax sealant. So that's done. And
how does that work?
Well, with watercolor, you never want it to be. You don't want any wet things falling on it or anything like that. So anyway, so it's cold wax that you basically like waxing a snowboard or waxing skis or stuff like that. So you actually put a thin layer of wax over top of the paper and work it in, and it seals it so that it protects the paint.
So is it like liquid or is it a solid or?
It's I can show it to you. It's solid. It's
okay. Because I have no idea about this. Like when he said he's like I layered it with wax, I was like, surely it's not a spray or anything.
Yeah.
So. Here, give me 2 seconds.
It comes in like a little paint can, so he's just gonna pry open the lid with a butter knife, which is my choice.
Yes, it works.
When shit comes, so it comes in a can like this.
Okay.
And it's just it's a white.
It's wax. It's literally wax. Okay. So do you heat it up at all, or
no?
No.
Oh. You just take it out and it smells. It's just regular wax. So I usually use like a cotton cloth or something where there's no lint.
Mm-hmm.
And I work it into the painting, and it
like
seals
the heat
it all.
from your hand just kind of warms it up. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But it's soft enough that it's like you can move it around. And so if you want to know this one in particular, it's just called Cold Wax Medium. This one's from Gamblin. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, I got it. Okay.
So, yeah. Anyway, that's yeah. So you can use it on watercolors. You can use it on like other types of
pencil or anything?
Pencil, graphite, charcoal.
And it doesn't smear it at all.
So the charcoal you'd have to be careful with.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's like graphite or anything like that, it won't smear it as long as you're as long as you don't press like a lot. If you don't overwork the wax, it would be fine. So
okay,
yep,
learn something new.
There you go.
Yeah, I had no clue.
So yeah, that's kind of what I was up to, and then I'm starting to work on a new painting for Chris's aunt and uncle.
Yep.
They had a request of me, so working on that one right now. And yeah, that's kind of what I got done instead of play guitar.
Well, I know something else y'all have gotten done since the last time we talked. Your background looks a little different.
Yeah. Oh, we decided to switch our living room and dining room.
So
this is.
We used to sit over there. There.
Now. So the thing with us is, we sit with ideas and we're like in a space because we like to renovate spaces and stuff, and we'll sit with the idea and we'll kind of play with it, and we kind of know something's not going to stick if we haven't really clicked on it together. And then with this, it all had to do with the fireplace, and it was just like, okay, well, how about we do this? Okay, well, let's do this. And then the ideas just started rolling in, and that's how we knew it was the right decision, because then it was just really quick and easy. And
the spontaneity.
Yeah, the spontaneity kicked in, and we just did it. So that's how we know it was right.
That's how we moved to where we are now.
Yeah, just,
What was funny was I got a phone call from Ray, and he was asking about, a couple of ideas, and was like, we're thinking about maybe switching these rooms around. I was like, yeah, I think it sounds fine, but I'm like, don't ask me. Like, I'm not the decorator in the house. I'm like, you should talk to Christy about it. And we unfortunately had some stuff going on, so it took a little while to get back to him. But when we called him back later that evening, they'd already switched everything. It was like, cool.
Yeah, we'd already talked to my sister, Ray's sister, who's an interior designer. We'd already collaborated with a couple of people and who'd been in the space too, who'd been in here, and so, and asked them what they thought.
We made it work.
Yeah.
Now, is it working well for you still?
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. We love the layout. It definitely feels more like a living room for us.
It does. Yeah.
And the only thing is that our furniture is going to have to change.
Yes, so, I can't. The pink couch
has to go.
The pink couch is going to go. My pink
Why?
Because it does. We need a sectional.
We want a sectional.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's going to have to be a sectional to work in here, because right now we've butted up the couches together, so it looks like a sectional that don't. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It doesn't look right.
No.
So
we've mocked it up so it would work, but we need a sectional, and my pink chair, my pink couch are going to have to go. But I've had it. It was the set was $175, so it was well spent, and I've enjoyed it.
It's done well, and we can just donate it back.
Yeah, we'll give it back to the restore when we're all done. But we're not changing. We're not buying new furniture right away.
We're trying to figure it all out.
Yeah, we're going to figure out the first steps. Yeah.
So there was an area that you were originally talking about. Had you left the rooms unchanged, you were talking about putting the possible fireplace in that little alcove there. And what has become of the alcove?
So the alcove is now, I got a
little drafting table.
A little drafting table, and that is now going to be my art space, and I get to do art out of there. Mm-hmm. And hopefully someday...
No, he thinks this is happening. It's not happening.
The dining room would actually change into a music room, which would be really cool.
Do y'all use the dining room at all?
No, because we lived in the cottage for so long and it was so small, we've just come accustomed to just eating in the living room. Mm-hmm. So because it was right beside the kitchen and there was no real dining room anyway, so we just and the place was always in a constant state of renovation, so we just always eat in the living room.
Our living room was the dining room too, right? Like there was literally a table that was more of a countertop. And that's. So we just we've tried. It feels weird. So we just sort of too formal.
We're not formal people, so we just congregate around the coffee table, and it works well for us. So Right now, it's the dining room table is holding my 3D puzzles of Hogwarts Castle and Diagon Alley.
Which are awesome.
Yes, I love them so much. It was awesome. Good find. I owe my aunt a lot for that because she found them for us.
Yeah, we got them at a cheap price. It was hilarious.
I don't know.
Nice.
Yes.
All right. Well, you know what? No, I'm not gonna jump in here. We're gonna go to Chris. Chris, so because it feeds right into what we were talking about. The last thing you said was you were looking for a desk.
Oh yes, I have a desk. So downstairs in our basement, there is a random room that I decided would be my office, and I've been slowly putting it together. I need bookshelves, though. That's the next step, so I can put my yarn away. But my aunt, I love my aunts. I love them so much. They collect things, and they have children, and the children have moved out, and so they were collecting these things for their kids to have free furniture. Here you go. It's free. Go take it with you. It was, we don't need it. But then the kids move again, and then they bring the furniture back. And my aunt had this old desk from her cottage, and none of the kids wanted it. So She's like, "You take it, please. Is there anything else you want? Are you sure you don't want it? Please, are you sure? Did you get a good look?
Too.
You can have this and this and this." So I got a free desk. It's very 80s. I feel like it's a Laney desk.
It is.
It fits in the space, so it's small enough. But I need a chair. So now we're out of lockdown. We got out of lockdown on Tuesday, so we can actually go into stores now.
I went into a store today.
Yes. So I'm gonna go to the Restore and try and find an office chair.
Nice.
So I can actually use it.
Very cool.
I'm gonna need one as well.
Yeah. Yes, you are too.
Because apparently I have a workspace now for
Yes.
my art.
I know, right?
It's so weird.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Yeah, so like you've got a workspace now, and you've got a new workspace to just kind of materialize. So
Yep. It worked out really well. It's actually we found a better use of the space because it was so awkward. And my cousin had it set up as her living room too, but my cousin it was just her. So and she barely spent any time here. She's a nurse, so she was either at the hospital or she was at her boyfriend's house. So she was hardly ever here. But it was set up originally as a living room, and we tried, and it always felt awkward.
Yeah, it was always awkward.
It was always awkward because of that little bump, that little alcove area.
There's this little alcove that we had to have our furniture on an angle to the room in order to be at the to the TV, and just felt weird. And so when we started talking about, like, Chris wants bookcases for the Victorian house feel, right? Yeah. Especially because we want to put a natural gas fireplace in. That way we have a way of heating the house in the winter if we lost power for whatever reason. So anyway,
which is very important, let me tell you.
Yes. Yeah. Because at the cottage we had a wood fireplace, so and the power has gone out. So we never worried because we always had the fireplace.
Right.
So that was one thing about living here. We were like, okay, we need to figure out something.
Yeah.
And so this was our plan, just put a natural gas fireplace in, but where we were going to put the fireplace, it was like, it's not going to fit there, and we can't exhaust it out the front of the house because that would just be weird. And so anyway, now we can go out the back wall and have very nice bookcases on both sides of it. And it's gonna be grand, but it's gonna feel like it was actually part of the house.
Yes, that's what we're gonna go for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. We bought a 150-year-old fireplace mantle in amazing condition, so that's the centerpiece of it all.
So are you building this, Ray, or is this something y'all are?
The pieces I'll be building.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then the mantle's already there, so we're probably gonna strip it down and just stain it. And then we'll go with probably white bookcases.
Yeah. And
then the TV's going to be mounted over top the fireplace. So
yeah.
So in that, I also get to build some kind of cool. I'm going to look it up, but there's a way of hiding some of the electronics, but also not overheating them. So I'm going to figure that part out.
Nice.
And see if I can kind of get that going. So yeah.
Very cool. It's funny. Christy and I have started paying for Discovery Plus, or Discovery Plus. It's the new Discovery, online whatever, and it has a lot of different channels in there, including like a lot of the home improvement channels.
Yep.
And so we've been watching a particular series, Property Brothers Forever Home, where they go in and it's these people who are spending money on keeping the house they currently have. And everything seems to focus around removing a center wall that has everything running through it. So it's a massive fortune to get done, and two, redoing the fireplace. So, yeah, after the week we've had, we actually discussed it. We were not, because we have a fireplace. We have never used it. We just don't get cold that often. But we discussed it. We were like, well, I don't even know if we'll have a fireplace in the next house. Now we're like, no, we definitely need a fireplace in the next house. Yeah. To the point that almost it's like, man, if we could really fix up this house to do what we want to do, like now knowing that if there is some kind of a major power issue, we would probably still have power. There's some things to kind of, think about, consider. So, yeah. Let's see here. So I had, paint Catan pieces. That didn't happen. So once again, going back to talking about everything that's going on, we have been asked, even though we have power, we have been asked to try to conserve as much power as possible. So I shut down my 3D printers earlier this week, and they have not been running. That is why things haven't gotten painted, because in order to start airbrushing some of these pieces, I've got to get them all printed. And while I am close to printing all of the base pieces, I have yet to start on the Seafarers expansion. So my printers have been silent all week, and on top of that, one of my big printers actually, the power on it died, and it's just like, all right, well, I can order a new power supply. Hopefully it'll get here, and when it does, I'll get to fix that. But yeah, I didn't get anything done painting wise. In fact, it's been really focused on just trying to make sure that we've got food and water and everything else. So, kind of getting, more so into survival mode. So haven't gotten a lot of stuff done. I have gotten a lot of this stuff printing. I am still learning this new resin printer, and I talked about that last time, how it's kind of like trying to learn how to water ski if you know how to snow ski, or vice versa. Like, while they are somewhat alike, they're not really alike. And so, like with this printer, one of the things that I'm running into is the clear plastic that it prints on. For whatever reason, keeps getting some damaged areas on it. So I have to keep going back, and instead of just replacing it, I'm trying to make it stretch as far as possible. So I'm literally redoing my models to make sure I'm printing around these damaged areas. But it's a learning process. I'm still getting there. It's coming along, but like I said, the last several days has been nothing. So also, my boys turned 9 on Wednesday, so like that was.
Oh, they're so big.
Yeah, that was a big thing that we did stuff all day with them on Wednesday, and today I've packed up 10 different things that I've been trying to get out to customers. Hopefully, I've told them, I'm like, hey, your stuff's done. I just got to get it in the mail, and it may be a while before it gets to you. And everyone who's gotten back to me has been very understanding. They're like, oh, I'm sorry. Hopefully you and your family are okay and everything. So, but yeah, so that's kind of really what I've been doing. Not a lot of creative stuff. A lot of thinking. My biggest problem right now is, I have several things. I'm trying to kind of finish a couple of things first before I take on another big project, and I'm coming to a crossroads as to what it is I want to work on next. Like, I want to finish this Catan stuff. There's several things that I'd like to maybe work on. I still have to do some work on my Proton Pack, but like, my taxes return should be coming in here soon, and I'm gonna start working on my car. Converting it into an Ecto. So, yay! Yeah. Christy's best friend actually is moving to Kentucky, and actually moved last weekend. We had a parade for her.
Aww.
And it was one of those things. It was like, God, if I had already converted my Ecto, this would have been fantastic to lead the parade. But yeah, that was interesting and a lot of fun. Oh, the other thing, I'm trying to think, what all have I been doing since, I've been basically out of commission. I'm like, oh, that's right. I've been working on my washer and dryer because they've had issues, and seems like every time I turn around, something's breaking or needs fixing or whatever. And it's just not a lot of creative time. I've been thinking about stuff, but just not getting a lot of it done. And then, like I said, learning and having to fix tools. Like I said, the 3D, when one of the 3D printers went down, it was like, okay, well, let me check this stuff. And I start looking at it. I'm like, all right, well, obviously this is what's blown. So yeah. Just
damn power supply.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's hard. I mean, granted, we've been going through a pandemic for over a year now. So, and I understand. I feel, some there are those times where I look at it and I'm just like, I don't feel like I've gotten nothing done, but I know I've gotten a few things done, but it's also like, I've also had to spend a lot of time on other stuff that I may not normally have to deal with. And this week has definitely been one of those.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Have y'all been working on anything else? Been doing anything else? Thinking about anything else?
So, like I said, I've got this other painting that I've started. I also have a few ideas that I want to do for a few more paintings. I want to get those started. And then when they're done, they will be revealed when they are sent to the people. So there are certain people that will be getting things at some point when they're done. And then hopefully we can reveal them after those that are already sent away. And
Gotcha.
So then I can talk about them on the show because I don't want to give anything away just in case somebody's listening in.
Understandable.
Yeah, so that'll be kind of fun. It's been something scratching in my head for a while. So, and then other than that, well, yeah, we will be working on the fireplace and bookcases eventually.
Right.
It's not going to be something right away.
Yes, it is.
I still have to wait for lumber supplies and everything to kind of calm down.
We can still sketch. We can still mock up. We can still discuss what's happening.
Nice.
Yeah, so I guess I'm doing that.
Surprise!
Woohoo! Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I guess there was something I was going to kind of talk to y'all about, and I don't, for the life of me, remember what it was. It was something to do with tools. I couldn't remember if I was going to talk about like, oh, that's what it was. I was going to just kind of talk to y'all, like how draining is it on your creative spirit when you're constantly having to fiddle with your tools? So like I said, it's like, so I'm going to take the 3D printer, for example. That's actually what reminded me of it looking over here. It's like, I remember when I first got the 3D printers, I was like so ecstatic about, trying to get the like testing. And I was like trying to get the best print. And I was like, okay, let me test this and see how this changes it up. Does this make things better or worse and everything else? And now I've gotten to this position where I'm just like, if the damn thing doesn't work, I don't want to do anything because I don't want to have to constantly fiddle with it. So it's like, get it to a point, get it done. But I think I've just come to that point in my life as an adult. One of my boys, like I said, it was their 9th birthday. One of my boys got a PC. We gave, I built a gaming PC for him. And I'm having to, go through and tell him like, listen, it's not a console. You can't just like turn it on and off and everything else. And, he's like, Dad, I clicked on it and it's taking forever. And I'm like, well, what is wrong? He's like, well, it says updating. And I'm like, yep. I'm like, this is why Daddy got out of PC gaming a long time ago, because, with an Xbox or a PlayStation or a Switch, you turn the power on and for the most part, you get to play your game. Sometimes it has to run an update, but usually it's not too bad. I'm like, but like for a Windows PC, Nope. Like it seems like at least once a week, if not every few days, it's like, no, hey, I have to do an update. So you get to sit on your hands.
Yep.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, with knitting and crocheting, the tools themselves are, you don't have to fiddle with them.
mm-hmm.
It's your technique you have to fiddle with.
Okay.
So there's something called tension and gauge. And if you're reading a pattern like this, I made this crown, and it says, for this size, do this many chains. It's like, okay, so I do that, and then I start going, and then I start realizing that this thing fits over, not only over my head, it's a necklace now because it doesn't fit my head. It's too big. So
it's too big for my head.
It was too big for his head. And I'm like, okay, so that's the adult size. So clearly my tension and gauge is off. So then I frogged it, which is ripped it out completely, did it again, still too big, frogged it again. And then I did this. It's still too big for my head. I have a bobby pin holding this sucker in. I have a very small head to begin with. I have like an 8-year-old size head. But I was like, I'm not doing this again. I'm not doing this again. This is just, no, it's just, I'll live with it.
The way it is.
The way it is. And then this blanket that I'm making right now, again, I'm still learning how to do this kind of stuff. And I was following the pattern and I read it wrong because it was, you need to chain in groups of 17, then add 16. I'm like, oh, it's math. So I interpreted one way, and then I'm like, that doesn't, and then I made him read it again. And as I'm getting him to read it, I looked it up and I'm like, oh, so I had to rip it all out, the whole thing again.
Which she'd already had like a couple
which
of years.
I had to rip it all out and start over. So normally that would really bug me, but now I'm learning that that's just, it's part of the learning process. So yes, I have found that I have a very tight, usually I have a very tight gauge. So I make things smaller than what the pattern will say. So I have to like go up a needle size or I have to go up a crochet size. And so I've learned that. But yeah, when you get to the point and you're looking at it and you're like, damn it, you start ripping it out and you're like, it took me so long to make this. And yeah, rip it all out. That's frustrating, that part. But yeah, I think it's something that's going to be a forever thing with the craft is the more you learn, you're just gonna
I've always wondered that about crocheting in particular because I mean and I'm sure it's one of those experience things, but I've always wondered, it's like, well, how do you know that it's either too loose or like you're just like it's like really freaking tight? And
so they have in a pattern, they have basically it's to check your gauge. You have this many stitches in this amount of square inches. It should be this in order to fit the pattern. So and I never do this, and I know I'm going to have to. You knit your little swatch or crochet your little swatch, and if it matches the pattern, then you're good to go. If it doesn't, if it's either too big, then you have to go down a needle size. If it's too small, then you got to go up. Yeah.
There's different size needles. I did not know that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there's so many, and there's different hooks, and you get hooks that are there's something called Tunisian crocheting, which is basically a hybrid between crocheting and knitting. And then that's a whole set of things, and then you can knit in the round, and there's lots of stuff, but it all boils down to finding the right needle size for the pattern. But you have for your tension
as well. So it's not just the pattern, but it's also
your tension.
The tension.
And I never ever do the swatch. No. So I've learned that I have to do the swatch, even though I don't want to.
Probably might save you some time.
But I'm learning that it's also letting go of the whole, I've just spent an hour doing this, and now I have to undo all of it and start over from scratch. So you get over it. Because I want it to be right, and I want it to look good. So I'm willing to sacrifice the time in order to get it right.
Yeah. And for me and my learning, it was always, especially when I was doing like woodworking and stuff like that, it was always, well, I can do it this way, so I'll do it but now that I have some of the proper tools, the proper tools make it work so much better. go and get the proper tools.
Yes. Absolutely.
If you have to borrow them, if you have to rent them, if you have the funds and you're able to buy them, go get the proper tools, look it up and find what those tools are, because it saves you so much time and effort, and you'll be thanking yourself later. So
yeah, I remember the whole planer jointer discussion, because I still don't understand what the difference is between the two of them, but apparently there is, and they're two separate tools.
there is a completely
They sound the
different reason
exact same.
They do. One makes a flat surface, the other flattens a surface. So it's...
Does that make sense to you? Do you understand what that? No, it
little
sounds
bit,
like the same thing tool. Listen.
Yeah.
But he says it'll help, because we do have a lot of plans for this house. It's all cosmetic work. We do have plans, so
now I can go get some cheaper barn board that's rough,
and plane it.
and now I can plane it down, or if it's not flat, I can put it on the jointer first, get a nice flat piece, then throw it through the planer, and it'll flatten out the top part to the bottom, so that it would be nice and square and ready to go, so that I can build her cabinet or her bookcase.
There's no storage in this place, because it's old houses don't have storage, so we have to build some.
Yeah.
Yes,
so we're gonna build a lot.
But I'm excited. But now he's got the proper tools, so and it does make it easy.
Yeah, going back watching the Property Brothers, watching them, just like Christy even commented, she's like, "Wow, they're putting that floor down really fast." I'm like, "Yeah, that number one, they're experienced, they know how to do it. Number two, they have the right tools." Like going back and looking at when we were putting down the floor in this house, I was like, God, why was I so cheap? I would have saved myself so much time if I had just like invested in just a few things. I mean, it probably would have maybe been $300 or $400 in tools, which I could have used well on past that, but still, it would have made life so much easier.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I highly recommend anybody looking to do anything.
Because you can rent them too.
Tools. Yeah,
you can rent them. Rent a lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the fun thing too. Like the good thing too is because if you only need one specific thing for one specific job and you're never doing that job again, somebody has the tool already, so you could borrow it. Or the hardware store usually has, they'll have a rental section that probably has something that you can borrow. So you only need it for 1 or 2 days, pay the $60, $70, whatever it is. And then, you're done with it.
And then to turn this into the art part of it as well, they have different brushes for different things, right? You have your watercolor brushes, you have your oil brushes, and then you also have your acrylics. Sometimes I will actually use, like for my fan brush, I will use the oil fan brush with my watercolors because it gives me a better effect. And so having those tools available and then being able to kind of play around with them and see what they actually can do with the different types of mediums that you're using, you can get some better effects. So it's, the right tools definitely help.
Yes, because otherwise, if you're either struggling with a tool or something that's not working, it just zaps your energy for what it is you're trying to do. You just, not always, but I'm just like, all right, I'm giving up on this for a while, at least for a bit. So.
Yeah. It's frustrating, especially when you're excited to do something and then you get to it and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I don't have any of the right things.
Yep.
And then you try to fudge it.
And then
it's like a recipe. It's like when you're baking. Because my mother-in-law does this. I love my mother-in-law more than life, but she will fudge a recipe, and then you're like, "Oh, this is disgusting, Donna. You shouldn't have." Because there's a recipe for a reason, right? Yeah. Like you have to have ingredients. You can't just skip something or sub something out because baking is chemistry. You need those things for a reason. Yeah. Cooking, you can kind of play around with it. It's all on taste, but like baking, you need these chemical reactions for a reason. You can't forget the baking soda. You need the baking soda. Yeah, or that's not going to rise and it's just going to stay flat and not cook. So
can't use normal sugar when you have to use confectionery sugar.
That's
powdered sugar and
so it's you need those. Sometimes you can't fudge it. You actually have to go out and get the proper things that you need in order to make it and do what you actually want it to do.
Yep. Yeah, that's one of the things that is there's there is that energy and excitement for learning a new tool or, something like that. But then after a while, it's just like, once that energy starts to burn off, it's just like, all right, listen, I really just need you to work. I really need you to do what it is you're supposed to be doing. So, and like I said, that's where I'm reaching with this resin printer. I'm like, all right, listen, this has been cool and fun and a nice learning experience. I think I've got a lot of it down. I just need you to buckle up and fucking print what I need you to print, please. Like, no more failures. We're done with failures. Let's move on.
Yeah. I was doing that with my blanket because this is a new like a new technique and I haven't done it before. So I was doing it and then you have to count stitches and I'd get to a point where I'm like, what did I do? You have to go all the way back.
So I'm seeing her do this.
Just ripping lines out because I'm like, I screwed up like way back there, but I have to go all the way back in order to make it right the first time. But you're looking at it and you're like, why did it do that? Why is it off by a stitch? And it can't be off by a stitch. It needs to be exactly, or it won't line. But you're just like, oh fuck, why?
She's like looking back, trying to see.
Counting. Just like no more.
I will say though, I think part of the reason why I've stayed away from airbrushing is because I went and got a cheap plastic one.
You did, yeah.
One time, and I tried it out. I'm like, I'm terrible at this. Never mind. Likely more the tool than it was.
And I've heard a lot about that. That's why I bought an airbrush that's definitely on the cheaper side, but it got several good reviews, and a lot of people, online had said this is a good first starter. Like this one, you can actually do some stuff with.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was actually one of the main tools that I thought about when I was kind of thinking about what we were, this discussion was, man, airbrush was one of those. It's like, listen, if you get the wrong one, you're going to completely screw yourself.
Yeah. It's still something I'd like to it could be a lot of fun because you can get t-shirts, you can do all these other kind of fun things. So it's still one that I think about once in a while.
Level up your art.
It'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, I've got one and I've played with it a little bit. But even like the next thing that I print are going to be I paint are going to be these Catan pieces. And even then I'm just like, it's not like I'm not doing any shading or anything on. I'm literally, the only reason I want to spray paint them with the airbrush is because they're so small. I don't want to lose that detail. So I'm like, if I do light passes, I should be able to get a good color saturation without, being gloopy or anything.
Yeah.
But it's literally just going to be like setting up. There's 15 roads, 9 layers. It's like 40 little pieces, maybe even 50 little pieces. That's just going to be one color. So it's going to be like, all right, cool. Put blue in, spray paint blue.
Yeah.
Go over. Is it good and colored? All right, cool. Let that dry, change out. Now I'm doing yellow and it's, so, but I'm trying to force myself to do it so I become more comfortable with it, but also just kind of learn it so that I also know that, I've got to make sure I clean the dang thing out,
Yeah.
And that's one of those other things like this resin printer, like, yeah, I could maybe cut some corners, but I can actually cause a lot of problems with it. And it's like same thing for an airbrush. If you don't, to me, it's like, okay, I know I've got to clean this thing. So it's never been, that was never an issue, but I know there's people who are just like, oh God, I hate using it just because I have to clean the thing every time you change the color. So
yeah,
I'm like, oh yeah, that's kind of a thing. Like, so, but yeah, and it's, and it's one of those other things that's like, listen, if it's that big a deal, like go ahead and invest in like a jewelry, the ultrasonic jewelry cleaners, because a lot of people are just like, you clean out the majority of the thing, you throw take it apart, throw it in there, and it does all the work for you. Yeah, it's going to cost you a little money, but in the long run,
clean up later. Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I specifically wanted this curing station over here, because I can only imagine having to have just a tub of alcohol and having, like, after every print, having to go take it and soak it and wash it off and clean it, and then I have to set it outside, which not so great right now. Like I've got a tub full of alcohol and uncured resin, and I had it sitting in here, and I was like, well, hopefully the sun will start to sun wasn't doing anything. So I'm like, you know what? It's cold. it won't freeze. I'll just put it out in direct sunlight, and it still doesn't seem to really be doing anything. I'm like, man, this is going to take a while for this to actually. I would think that direct sunlight would cause this resin to, these microparticles to start curing, so they would fall to the bottom, which is what they're supposed to do. But yeah, I got a long ways to go on it. So
yeah.
Anyway, let's move on to what we're planning on working on for next time. Ray, you want to go first?
Yeah. So by the next show, I'd like to have at least your aunt and uncle's painting
well on its way.
Well on its way, and I'm gonna really try and challenge myself. I'd like to get one of those pieces that I've been talking about done as well.
Okay.
Or at least the outline started, because I think I can. So there's going to be a few pieces that are going to be a little harder, but that's okay. I think it'll be worth it and it'll be fun. And then I guess I better start planning that a little bit more.
Yeah, the bookcases
so
aren't
the
going to
bookcases
plan themselves.
will have to be planned out a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Good deal.
So busy month for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What about you, Chris?
So I'm working on a prototype for my shop.
Oh, okay.
I am waiting on, so I ordered a bunch of yarn, but I ordered what I needed for one blanket. And then they told me like 2 weeks later, like, oh, that yarn sold out, so we're going to refund you that and then send you the rest.
But the rest of it's already shipped. So
I'm like, okay, but what didn't you send? So then I can order it. So then anyways, it got here, but I've gotten as far as I can. I reordered it. It's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently it's shipped. So, but yeah, I want to try out this prototype and see if I like it. I think I do. It's a little hard to tell now because I've stopped and I can't go any further. But I would like to have it done, and I would like to at least have a plan going forward with what I want to do with it.
We'll see.
And how I want it to go. Yeah, we'll see. I have
deal.
ideas, but I have to see them, like if I can actually do it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's one of the things holding, and I've referenced this before about doing a larger scale flux capacitor. It's not just I'd be having to do the design, and then I've got to buy the parts and see how the best way to do it, and then I can start looking at, and it's like, I'm not in the mood to prototype right now.
Yeah.
I'm just not. So at least not for something that I'm kind of interested in, not that something that I'm not like super interested in. So like once I get this stuff out of the way and I can start doing like, oh hey, I'm gonna prototype 3D printing my head to make a action figure out of me, that's interesting and exciting. So but yeah, something else I'm just like whatever. Of course right now I'm just like I don't want to do anything.
Yeah it's a little hard to keep motivated in the state of things right now. Yeah So I'm going to hopefully by the next time we talk, I'm going to have the rest of these pieces done, and my stretch goal would be at least to start painting them. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. Granted, we are supposed to start warming up this next week, but that's another project that I didn't even mention. So I've got these trains that I've sold this guy who lives about 2 hours away, and Joseph even said he would go with me, and I volunteered to like meet this guy halfway. Well, we couldn't do it last weekend because I had stuff going on, and I guess that was weekend before, and then I couldn't do it this last weekend because of the snow and everything else. Yep.
So I was supposed to possibly meet this guy this coming weekend, but I may be going into work, and with there not being any gas around here, I really can't afford to just drive an hour and then an hour back. But yeah, so once I sell these trains, I'm going to be looking at building 2 small train layouts, in-scale train layouts for my boys to be able to play with. And I want to do a good job on them, but I've made the mistake of subscribing to at least a couple of guys that do model railroading on YouTube.
Yeah.
And now, granted, these guys are like into it. Like this is their hobby. So like this one guy's talking about this one layout that he's done, and there's probably 30 or 40 videos in the series. And I'm just like, oh my God, I did not think it was going to be quite that involved. But I'm also looking at, I'm just like, I'm not thinking about going that in depth to it. So I should be okay. Like it doesn't have to be super in depth and everything else. I mean, when I want it to look nice and everything, for the boys. But yeah, I'm just like, I'm watching it. I'm just like, that's really cool and really interesting and really involved. And I am not going to do that at all. So yeah, but yeah, but like that's another project. It's like, well, do I start that? Do I start working on this other stuff? Because in the back of my head, I'm like, the new Ghostbusters movie got moved back again, and I'm like, okay, I've got plenty of time that I could knock out several projects, but I kind of need to get on the ball with that. I can't just keep pushing it back because the next thing I know, it'll be like, oh, hey, so yeah, the movie comes out in a month, and yeah, so I'm trying to kind of pick my battles.
You need your Ecto 1.
I do need an Ecto. That would be really awesome, and that's also one of those scary things. We can, maybe that'll be our kind of topic or whatever for next time. Is I don't know if we've already talked about that or not. The scariness of starting something new you've never done before, and just
excitement and scariness, especially when you're talking about something as expensive as a vehicle.
Exactly. Well, see, and like the first couple of things are pretty standard stuff, and then it's stuff that I can easily ask people. Hey, listen, I'm planning on putting a roof rack on my car. Yeah. That's something I can ask a ton of people. Yeah. When I get to, okay, so listen, I want to buy 2 like strobes like you would get for a police vehicle, and I want to hook them up to a deep cycle marine battery. What's the best way to do that on my roof?
Yeah, that's a little bit more specific.
I guarantee you there's people out there to help you.
I'm part of a group, and believe me, I will start asking questions and stuff. Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting because I've already looked, and I'm kind of looking into it and stuff. That's the other problem is you start looking at some of this stuff, and some of these people go way deep, and you're just like, okay, I don't understand any of this. So I just don't want to blow anything up, and I want to make it look cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I remember looking at kits for converting vehicles from gas-based to electric-based, and there are some wicked kits out there, especially for old VW Bugs. But how the hell am I
going to imagine? Yeah.
So yeah, no. It's cool stuff.
Yeah, and not being really a car guy is also like,
yeah.
that doesn't help.
I forgive you.
Well, because like I said, there's certain things that I want to do, and it's also the fact that I'm wanting to make this thing so that it converts. Like I can take off the roof rack and drive it around without it on there. Now, granted, there's some of the groups that I'm part of are just like, no, just go ahead and bolt everything on, because when you start driving it, you're not going to take it off and you're going to enjoy it. And I'm just like, oh, okay, maybe.
Let's be honest. If you get an Ecto and it's like, dude, you're going to want to drive around as an Ecto.
Probably so. I've already been like, well, maybe in October I just drive it like this. We'll see. So
yeah.
But yeah, we'll see how that happens.
That'd be like if I bought a DeLorean. I would have to convert it.
Oh my God, yes.
You have to. And you have to have it all year round that way, because it's just the way it is. So
yeah, we'll see. Because like I said, I've got that, I've got trains, I've got other things that I'm working on or whatever. So it's a thing. It seems like I'm always busy, but I'd rather be always busy than sitting around and not doing anything. So
there you go.
But all right, well, that is our show for the month, ladies and gentlemen. If you would, please give us a 5-star rating on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Music, wherever it is you listen to the show. Really does help out on iTunes above all the other ones, though. That system's just tried and true, and everyone knows it, and it definitely pushes it up there. But you can also check out our other shows, the Marginally Geeky Show, Sustainably Geeky, Precautionaries. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe I need to sit down and have a not right now because our buddy Sai is determined not to make any content right now. So I know what the answer would be right this second. But yeah, we need to have a discussion, see if maybe we can get that going again. So, but anyway, so you can definitely check out the site epicallygeeky.com. You can find us on all the social media at epicallygeeky on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Where can we find you online, Ray?
You can find me at the Reluctant Yeti on Instagram and Twitter. My latest tweet will give you a little insight as to what I'm pissed off about. I may have called out Live Nation because they still haven't given me my album that I paid for almost 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous.
So, yeah. But yeah, the Reluctant Yeti Instagram, you can find most of my paintings and stuff there. I do have a shop that I'm going to once this one stops keeping all my art, I will.
I'm not even sorry.
I'll have some stuff up on there that will easily ship. So I find watercolors are a lot easier to ship than oil paintings. So
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. Chris, what about you?
All the shows you've said minus procrastinators. And on Instagram at Rose and Hummingbird.
And that's your Etsy shop as well.
That's my Etsy shop, yes.
So you still have stuff up there right now?
Oh yeah. I'm just gonna keep it up till it's gone, and then just not replenish it, and just keep once I've got my new stuff.
Is it still on sale?
No, it's not on sale.
Okay.
It stopped being on sale on Valentine's Day, but I'll probably put it on sale again.
It's
a fun thing when it's your own shop. You do what you want.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right.
Yes, but I will hopefully be adding new items soon. We'll see how this prototype goes.
Yep. Gotta get the prototypes done.
Yep.
And as always, you can follow my individual wacky adventure online at Optimus Gene on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. For everyone on the site, have a good night.